6 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hail to the king, baby.
Welcome, one and all, to the world of stew. Hello and welcome after a week away, because that's what tends to happen when the kids are off school. It's episode 42 of World of Stew. Now, I, of course, as always, am your host, Stu, from World of Stew, and I have my co-host. He is the Negasonic Teenage Warhead to my Colossus. It's Dave.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead, does that mean I should be kind of, monocephalic and kind of miserable?
All I'm going to say is, nothing compares to you.
Getting kind of weird now.
Yeah. So, we are back with episode 42, and you might not know this, Dave, but this is your 30th show.
30th show. That has gone quick.
So, well, technically your 31st show if you include the show where you were actually a guest rather than co-host, but we won't go there. It's episode 42, show number 30. Now, obviously we were off for a week, so we are kind of a week behind everybody else in terms of the big news that has been taking place, which of course is where we are going to start because there's literally nowhere else to begin. It is with the runaway train that has been Deadpool.
X gon' give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.
Go get some.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing.
Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Totally impractical. They all do it. You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis. That's why I brought him.
I prefer not to hit a woman, so please play.
I mean, that's why I brought her? Oh, no, finish your tweet. It's not, that's fine. Just give us a second. There you go. Hashtag it. Go get her, Tiger.
Oh, I so pity the dude who pressures her into prom sex.
Now, you've seen it, right?
I have seen it. I saw it 2 days after it came out, I believe.
Okay, now this film is so good, I've been to see it twice.
You lucky thing. I wish I could have gotten to see it twice.
Well, I've been to see it twice. Now, before we actually discuss the movie and what we thought of it and give a slight review, and we should just mention that there will be what, Dave?
There will be spoilers. Huge, huge spoilers.
Yeah, massive spoilers. We should just give a quick rundown of all the records to date that Deadpool has broken, right? It has the largest ever February Thursday preview. It has the largest ever opening day in February. It also has the largest single day in February, the largest February opening weekend, the largest 4-day President Day weekend, the largest R-rated comic adaptation opening weekend ever, the largest winter season opening weekend, the largest, and this is the one record which I am staggered by, it has the largest ever opening for any 20th Century Fox movie ever made.
Yeah, that's including all the other X-Men films, isn't it?
It is. It is also, and this is a bit tenuous to be honest, but it's the highest grossing X-Men movie of all time in North American box office history.
You know what, that is quite staggering. I mean, we expected it to be good, and it is, we'll get to that later, but I don't think I ever expected it to take that much money. It's crazy.
It also has a higher 10-day total than both X-Men Last Stand and X-Men Days of Future Past.
Well, let's be honest, the X-Men Last Stand, that's not surprising. Days of Future Past, that is shocking.
To date, and this is going by figures that I got yesterday, it has taken globally $491,894,887 from a $58 million budget, which means, Dave, right, that it has taken 8.4 times its budget to date, right?
Right.
Now, Age of Ultron only took 5.6 times its budget, and the original Avengers only took 6.8 times its budget.
So, what kind of message should Marvel be taking from this? Surely it makes more films, make better quality, maybe?
Well, I can't imagine Marvel are ever going to go R-rated.
No, but surely this might have given them a message that making a few R-rated movies might be an idea.
Has Disney ever made an R-rated movie of any kind?
That'll be my next week's research.
Okay, fair enough. So, those are all the facts and figures, which is staggering. So, all of that aside, what did you think of well, first of all, before you give me your opinion, let's just run through the plot quickly. Now, the plot itself, the film, and I don't know if you agree with this, if you take away everything that makes this film unique in terms of the Deadpool character and breaking the fourth wall and the language and the violence, it is a pretty by-the-numbers standard superhero movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think there's the plot itself, you get a bit of origin. It's a little bit twisted up, isn't it? In the fact that it's at the beginning, you kind of see the middle of the film, don't you? And then he's like, "Oh, let me show you how we got to this point," and that kind of makes it a bit more interesting. But there's the standard origin story in Red. It's not too surprising that you need a good origin story, but the plot is nothing to be hugely surprised about. Like you said, it's by the numbers superhero stuff.
But of course, as you've said there, it's a pretty standard plot in that there's a girl involved and it's all about revenge, which is kind of basically what we got in Wolverine. So, what makes this film stand out? Well, right from the opening credits, you know exactly what you're going to get with this film, in the fact that they replace all the names of the characters that are going to, all the names of the actors, I should say, that are going to appear in the film, with things like moody teenager and British villain.
Yeah, what is it? An ostentatious cameo, something like that, wasn't it? A cameo?
Gratuitous cameo.
A gratuitous cameo. Produced by, what was the word?
Ass hats.
Yeah, produced by ass hats. Directed by a massive ass hat, something like that, wasn't it? But yeah, I thought that was fantastic. But even the credits themselves were awesome. The fact that it's the camera moving through the car of Deadpool giving this guy a wedgie, kicking someone else in the face. They were just great credits, really creative.
It was kind of a twist on the X-Men opening, wasn't it? Where the X-Men opening always seems to be zooming out from within a gene and moving out until you get some big reveal. This was kind of moving the camera around a scene rather than coming out. But it was a similar sort of idea.
Yeah, exactly. And, I do like the fact that, again, that test footage we saw, what we all thought was test footage going back, must be a year and a half now, of Deadpool jumping off the bridge, having a fight in the cars. They've made good use of that. They've used it. It's not a major huge part of the film, but it was popular. They've used it. I quite like that.
So, of course, we get this big opening scene where Deadpool is fighting the baddies, and he's after one particular guy who he calls Francis. Now, we will learn throughout the film that Francis goes by the code name of... I've forgotten his name. His name Francis was so commonly used. Was it Ajax, wasn't it? Ajax, yeah. And they kind of differentiate slightly from the typical Deadpool history in that it's not weapon. They never actually use the term Weapon X, do they? They kind of just say we're experimenting on people.
Yeah, they never used the idea of a Weapon X project, and I was expecting them to kind of like get out a little kind of vial of something and say, oh, well, here you go, we're giving you the DNA of this guy, and write it would say Logan or James Howlett or Weapon X or something like that. So part of me was kind of like, oh, I was looking out for a little bit to do with Wolverine, but no, they never mentioned Weapon X at all, which is fine, I guess. It's just changing it slightly.
And it actually works because if you research the character of Deadpool, historically they've changed his origin several times because they've written it in a way that he's so insane that he can't actually remember his own past.
Yeah, exactly. And, like I said, that kind of fits in the character. They did the same thing with Wolverine several times in the comics. They kind of kept on saying, well, this is his genuine memory, or this is his genuine memory, or has he just been brainwashed? Is it just memory implants? To the point where Wolverine didn't know for years in the comics what his true origin was. So, yeah, that makes sense with Deadpool as well. That was he in Weapon X? Was he not? Who knows?
So anyway, he gets experimented on. They unlock his mutant gene, which is the fact that he can heal himself, not unlike Wolverine. And he can grow back limbs that lop off, so he's basically immortal. Unfortunately, a side effect to this is that he's horribly scarred, which means he then spends the next year and a little bit tracking down the guy who did it to him, Ajax, who he has discovered his real name is Francis, killing all these henchmen until he finally tracks down Francis, which takes us back to the beginning of the film. Unfortunately, after he's captured Francis, who shows up?
After we captured Francis, who should show up but Colossus and Negasonic Warhead.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead, sorry. Yeah. But tell what you didn't mention, mate. You mentioned the I think the cancer part of the story, where they show him, he's a mercenary, he contracts cancer. I thought that bit was actually done really well. I thought, it could have just been a little throwaway part of the story. Oh, guess what? I've got cancer. I tried to get a cure. But I thought, yeah, that kind of shows he wasn't, even for a tough guy, he wasn't having an easy time dealing with it, was he?
Plus, of course, he makes us look at International Women's Day in a whole different light.
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite a that little whole montage scene was very kind of R-rated for a Disney movie, wasn't it? Not Disney, sorry, for a comic book movie. Yeah,
and surprises me that it got certificated a 15.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that, but I guess even 15-year-olds would know what it means anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the world we live in. He meets up with, as we said, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who is another character whose powers they've changed. Now, I know you're a big X-Men fan, so did you have any history with Negasonic previous to this film?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't actually read too much about Negasonic Teenage Warhead, so I was perfectly fine with this. There may be fans out there who are not, but I just like to see a good version of a character on screen. Like, I think she must have been in a little bit of comic book history, but I just managed to totally miss out in the 90s or the early 2000s. So, you know what? I thought she was cool, but if anyone else out there knows otherwise, then, just let us know.
Yeah, because in the comic books, I looked it up because I had no knowledge of her. Her powers are actually more of a telepathic nature, but I think that with a name like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, the powers they gave her in the film make more sense.
Yeah, they do. And I don't think you really need another telepath running around the X-Men universe, do you? Because they've already got Professor X, they've got Jean Grey, they're going to have Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse, so who needs another telepath? Let's just have a kick-ass teenage girl.
And of course, all of this leads to Francis escaping, and our first sort of really standout comedy scene of the film where Deadpool tries to beat up Colossus and in the process breaks both hands and a foot.
Yeah, he breaks both hands and his foot, doesn't he? But then I just love the fact that he cuts his wrist off to escape as well.
Yeah, and also we get the prime example here of the fourth wall breaking humour is that Colossus says that he's going to take Deadpool to see Professor X, And Deadpool comments which one, McAvoy or Stewart, because the timeline is just too confusing.
Yeah, I did like that. That did make me chuckle.
From there, like I say, we skip backwards and forwards in the film. It all basically leads up to the big climatic scene at the end where Deadpool must save his girl from the villainous Francis. Now, a couple of things about this final sort of sequence. First of all, throughout the entire film, I thought that we finally got a Colossus worth seeing.
Yeah, likewise. I did like, I liked Colossus in, I liked him in X-Men Last Stand. He got to do a little bit. I also liked him in Days of Future Past. He got to do a bit in that, didn't he? But not nearly enough. I think the Colossus of the comics, he's a really good character. He's that really strong warrior, but he's got quite a gentle soul, hasn't he? Really, yeah. And he just wants to protect the people he loves. So I'm kind of hoping if they can move on with this character, that could be great. I'd love to see them move on with him again.
I think he's probably going to be in the sequel. The thing that bugged me, by the way, did you notice where they were actually fighting?
Yes, I was curious about this because to me it looked like a version of a SHIELD helicarrier that was kind of in a scrapyard.
Yeah, I think it's one of the original ones that got destroyed during one of their big fights or something. I think that was the idea of it.
Yeah, but then again, that's the thing, isn't it? Fox so far haven't really mentioned SHIELD or anything like that in their movies. So was that just kind of gently poking a finger up at Marvel Disney?
I think you'll find it probably was. Now,
Yeah.
the thing that bugged me about this final scene was the fact that they went with the typical, we've seen it a million times now, end into a superhero film where our main protagonist, in this case Deadpool, has to have his ass saved by a civilian.
Yeah, very true. It does happen a lot, doesn't it?
And that really wound me up because everything prior to this had been so different from other superhero films other than the basic plot. That just really aggravated me, which is why I marked it down slightly in my review.
Yeah, that happens. Maybe it's just a case that you have to show the hero be a little bit weak and a little bit not perfect in some ways. But I was kind of half expecting the hero, the girl, to die anyway. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me being harsh.
Well, there was a fan theory that she is actually Death herself, but that's for another time. We can go into fan theories. We get sort of Deadpool redeeming himself from the fact that he was saved by his girlfriend Vanessa, played by Morena Baccarin, is it? I think her name is?
I think that's the name. I think that's the way it's pronounced, yeah.
Yeah, she's the actress from the V remake, and she also plays Dr. Leslie Tompkins in the Gotham TV show. He redeems himself from being saved by her by basically shooting Francis in the head, despite the fact that Colossus is trying to talk him out of it.
Yeah, I did love that because it was very true to the character, isn't it? Colossus going, "No, you have to be a hero. You'll get a few moments in your life to prove yourself." And Deadpool's just like, bang, sorry. What were you saying? Yeah, I just love that because it's true to the character, isn't it? It's true to exactly Deadpool's attitude that he wouldn't let a guy like that live.
One of the things that did amuse me most about this whole end sequence was the bit where Deadpool has just kicked the backside and killed all the soldiers on the ground, and he looks up and Ajax is looking down at him and goes, "What's my name?" And Deadpool looks up and goes, "Oh, I'm gonna spell your name out," and then he spells it out on the floor with the bodies.
Yeah, exactly. I did like that, and where he and there's that part as well, isn't it, where he stops just about to shoot a guy, cut a guy's head off or something. I can't remember the guy's name. He goes, "Tim, is that you?"
It was Bob, Dave.
Yeah, Bob, is that you? I haven't seen you for ages because I'm sure that's another character as well, isn't it? Bob, Agent of Hydra or something like that. That he's a regular character from the Deadpool books.
Absolutely, he is. Yeah.
But also, yeah. I mean, when towards the end again, when Deadpool has a knife stuck in the side of his head and he's kind of hallucinating, that did make me laugh.
And then we get the big pan out shot. Deadpool gets the girl after having a Hugh Jackman cut out on his face to disguise himself as Wolverine. There's lots of digs in there at Wolverine. There's also a few digs. For instance, there's a action figure of the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool character from Wolverine Origins appears in the film.
Yeah, and there's several kind of Green Lantern references, aren't there? Just kind of poking for that Green Lantern.
And of course, we get the fourth wall break within a fourth wall break, which makes how many walls?
That is 16 walls.
Exactly. So we come to the post credits. We skip through those, and we get to the post credit scene. Did you stay for this?
I did, yes. I had to stay for that.
Yeah. So the post credit scene is a sort of sly homage to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or Day Out, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I kind of, part of me is thinking that this is actually the best one yet, the best post credits sequence yet, because the just sheer honesty of it and the sheer Deadpool going, "Why are you still here? Go home." Because we all know we want a post credit sequence, right? I mean, I was gutted when Age of Ultron didn't have anything at the end. It was kind of like, well, you know your fans sit through every movie to watch it now. So put one in, for goodness sake, and they did, which made me happy.
And of course, it was the biggest mark out moment probably for you from any superhero film when they announced that you were going to finally get Cable in a superhero film.
Absolutely, I am so looking forward to that.
Now, my question to you, well, first of all, if you were scoring this out of 10, what would you give it?
I'd give it a good 9, at least. 9 out of 10, definitely.
See, now I scored this 9.5. The only other film I've ever scored 9.5 out of 10 since I've done my reviews is X-Men Days of Future Past, which, as you know, is my favourite superhero movie of all time. The reason why I marked that down half a mark was because there was too much reliance on Wolverine, once again. Now, the reason why I marked this one down half a mark was basically because of the ending and the fact that, again, a female civilian bailed out the superhero, which I've already mentioned. But this film was as ace as you could ever have imagined it was going to be.
Absolutely. I think this movie is as true to the character as you could possibly get for a character like Deadpool. I mean, the fact that they made an R18 film for Deadpool and people, as we've seen from the figures, people are going to see it, and it's proving immensely successful. So, not just Fox, but all the companies out there, DC, Paramount, Sony, Marvel, Disney, they should all sit up and pay attention and say, you know what? There's a lot of other characters that should have R18 movies, because you know what? The people who read comics aren't just kids, they're the adults. And if we want to see Blade, the Punisher, or Ghost Rider, or even who knows, Fantastic Four, in an R18 movie, make it, and make it good.
Now, funny you should mention the R rating there, but did you know that in this film there are 84 F words and its derivatives, 34 scatological terms, 21 sexual references, 19 anatomical terms, 9 religious exclamations, 8 mild obscenities, and 3 obscene hand gestures.
Only 3 obscene hand gestures?
Yes.
I'm trying to think through those now. Okay, there's the handcuffed hand.
Yeah.
There's the shaky bakey, whatever it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I did like his meeting with the businessman actually, where he kept saying, "Look, we're close to a school here, so you might want to go out back." His was go right. Yeah, he's a creepy dude, and this was obviously the role Ryan Reynolds was born for. Let's be honest.
Now, looking forward, obviously they announced a sequel at the end of this with the post-credit scene. I have to be honest and say I'm not sure how long they can run the same joke. Deadpool is pretty much a one-trick pony that makes it. Yes, he makes him different, but will a sequel, which is basically just him breaking the fourth wall and all that stuff, be as successful as the first film, or will the idea have run its course?
Well, you know what, I really would like to see. Here's what my vision would be. Okay, I've already said who my favourite actor to play Cable would be. Do you remember who that was?
No, sorry.
Basically, I want to see Cable being played by Liam Neeson. You know, he's a kick-ass guy. He's about the right age. He looks about right. And one of my favourite, I remember seeing Liam Neeson in an episode of Extras with Ricky Gervais, a couple of years ago. And it was Liam Neeson. Obviously, he was poking fun at himself, but he was trying to do comedy. And it was really uncomfortably funny in only the way Ricky Gervais can make comedy. I would so love to see Liam Neeson playing it totally solid straight against Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. You know, and not just that, but let's see Deadpool fight against some other superheroes. Let's see, who knows, put Wolverine in there, I don't know. Even though I'm not sure if that would necessarily work, him breaking the fourth wall against someone who's actually paying attention to it. I don't know. But yeah, I want to see him in a movie with Cable. I want to see some time traveling maybe. Let's just see how crazy it can get, because I think the comedy will carry it, as long as the action is good as well.
But in closing, I think you'll agree that we should say to anyone who's listening to this, go and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely, go and watch Deadpool. And unfortunately, if you're not old enough, you might have to wait a few years. When I was at the cinema, earlier on this week, taking the kids to see Goosebumps, and apparently they have had a lot of kids who are only 13 and 14 in the UK trying to watch it. So, wait a few years until you're legal, but if you are legal, go and watch it. It's awesome.
Would you allow your children to watch this at the age of 15?
Well, you know what? My oldest child, William, is now 14. When we saw it at cinema, I came home the next day, I said to him, I watched it yesterday, it's not suitable yet, but in 10 months you're going to be legal to watch it anyway. So I think I probably will let him watch it. I think there's so many references in there that, he's going to be 15, he'll see and he'll hear this stuff talked about at school anyway. So yeah, I'll let him watch it when he's 15. But for my youngest, who's 12, he's just going to have to wait, which is really harsh, but that's life.
All of that aside from Deadpool, let's look at the rest of this week's superhero news. So first up, we are talking about Preacher. Now, have you ever read the Preacher graphic novels?
I read one or two of them way back in the day. Can't remember too much about them. I know there's it had very biblical tones, very kind of apocalyptic tones as well.
Well, Jackie Earle Haley has joined the cast of the forthcoming Preacher TV show, which is based on the 1990s comic book series, which is written by Garth Ennis and Stephen Dillon. The premise of the series was that a preacher, who is going to be played by Dominic Cooper, who is probably best known as Howard Stark, most notably in Agent Carter, he's playing a preacher by the name of Jesse Custer. Jesse Custer loses his faith and discovers that God has left heaven and abandoned his post. He is the only one who can track down God and takes his ex-girlfriend Tulip and an Irish vampire named Cassidy along for the ride. Now, going back to Haley, he will play a character called Odin Quincannon, who is a small, decrepit man with an unscrupulous iron will that makes him the most powerful man in Anvil County, Texas. In the original comics, so I don't know how they'll translate this to the TV show, Odin is a member of the KKK and at one point is discovered having sex with a mannequin made out of meat.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that gets into a TV episode.
Although I would say it's not out of the realms of possibility on maybe a subscription service.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, there's been far worse in TV shows like Spartacus and Game of Thrones, so it's possible, but if they're trying to make it for a mass audience, I'd be surprised if that gets in.
More comic book adaptation news, and we're back with Fox now. It is rumoured that they are developing a film based on Boom Studios' horror comic, The Empty Man. Now, have you ever heard of that?
I've heard the title, but I haven't ever read it.
Okay, David Pryor is set to write and direct the film adaptation of the comic book that was created by Cullen Brown, who also did Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. It's going to have the art of... the comic book had the art of Vanessa R. Del Rey. The comic ran from June to December 2014, and its story was based around the Empty Man disease. That's cause is unknown, and that has symptoms including rage, hideous hallucinations, and suicidal dementia. This is followed by death or a near-lifeless empty state of catatonia. A murderous cult rises to prominence, which prompts the FBI and the CDC to investigate and look for a cure. Which sounds really interesting. I would actually rush out to watch that, probably.
Yeah, that does sound like my kind of thing, actually. You know, very kind of 28 days later, outbreakish. I love that kind of stuff.
Now, we have been talking about the good side of the comic book into movies world. It only seems right, bearing in mind that we've had the last trailer for it, that we discuss, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but the final Batfleck vs Supergirl trailer. Now,
yes, I did want to watch this.
Now, one thing to note about this, going back to something you said previously, we finally hear Wonder Woman speak.
Yes, we do.
The other thing to note about this, and I'm going to put my hands up now and be honest, because obviously everyone knows I'm really anti this film, had this trailer been shown in place of the previous one that ruined the entire film, right? And they had just left it at that, and we'd not had a trailer that involved Doomsday and too much Lex Luthor and all the flashbacks to like the Dark Side Nightmare and all the rest of it, I might actually have been more interested in this film, because this trailer, for me, works, this final one.
Yeah, it's a far better trailer, but in the last 2 seconds of the trailer, I think you get a bit of a spoiler again.
Where Batman blocks Superman's punch.
Yeah, exactly. Superman goes to punch Batman, Batman blocks it, and Superman can't move his fist any more forward. You know, Superman looks surprised, Batman smirks. It's like, okay, so that's told me now that Bruce Wayne, Batman, gets his hands on some kryptonite, yeah? Because that's the only way he could do that, surely.
Don't you think that shot was pretty awesome, though? If you forget about everything that's come before that's ruined the film, that one shot, and I don't particularly like Henry Cavill as Superman, but his look of confusion would have probably sold me on this film.
Yeah, and I do kind of like Ben Affleck's smirk as well, but I'm still really not liking that big armoured batsuit.
Yeah. So it's also been announced that the film is going to run at 2 hours and 31 minutes in length, which makes it the longest DC film ever, and it also means that the only superhero film that has been longer, I believe, is Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen was quite long, wasn't it? But, you know, I think we're going to need this to squeeze in everything we've seen hints of in the trailer, and they're still saying there's a lot more that we haven't seen as well. So I'm going to be kind of interested to see where they go towards the end of the movie.
So does this trailer increase your interest in this film or not?
I'd say it kind of equalises it. No, I think I'm going to go watch it anyway. I think it's a much better trailer than the previous ones. You know, I think if they'd just shown trailers like this for the last couple of months, just kind of little tiny peeks of the action of what's going to happen. Only thing that I do remember, though, towards the start of the trailer, you finally see Batman in action, don't you? Against some kind of bog-standard criminals.
Brutal Batman, yeah.
Yeah, it looked brutal, but the action, the fight scenes did look very Watchmen-esque, which would make sense with being directed by Zack Snyder as well. but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that kind of fight scene. It worked in Watchmen, I thought, but will it work for Batman?
Well, we don't have long to wait and see, and we are going to close this week's superhero news with another DC story, and this is relating to their comic book line. They have announced that they are having a title relaunch beginning in June that will be known as Rebirth. It is said to be bringing back the best of DC's past, embracing the stories that fans currently love, and it's going to move the whole universe into the future. Now, the opening line of the 80-page DC Universe Rebirth special will be, "I love this world, but there's something missing." All the monthly and twice monthly books are now going to be priced at $2.99, and all titles will relaunch with a number 1, except for Detective Comics and Action Comics, that will both return to their original numbering of 934 and 957 respectively. Now, on the heels of Marvel announcing Dead No More, what do you think about DC Rebirth?
You know what, I think this is, quite simply, I think it's a good business move. A lot of their comics lately, they've got to the point where, you know what, most of our comics, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they're kind of at issue 50, 51, 52. They called the new lineup the New 52, so issue 52 would be a really good point to stop and think about what titles are selling and what titles are not. And with their new big films out, it just makes sense to try and bring in line their comics with their movies. Though, do you know what? I'd like to see them using Harley Quinn a bit less. The similar way in Marvel is just putting Deadpool in everything. It just seems DC is putting Harley Quinn in everything to try and get it to sell.
I did notice on my last trip actually to my local comic book store that there were a hell of a lot of Deadpool titles out.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of this is what they did to Wolverine years ago. They put Wolverine, they put him in X-Men, they put him in Uncanny X-Men, they put him in a Wolverine comic, they put him in the Avengers, and sooner or later, people just get sick of that character. So I hope, I like Deadpool, I like Harley Quinn, and if they just kind of burn out those characters, it'd be a crying shame from the comic book world, I think. But for DC doing Rebirth, I think this makes sense as long as they can get some good creative names in it and get some good stories going. It makes sense, get new readers in as well.
And that was this week's superhero news. Now, before we get to the regular news, it must be time for this.
Tell me he didn't just say that. Say that.
So we are here with Tell Me He Didn't Just Say That, or TMHDJST. It is currently 7 to you and 3 to me.
Yeah, I'm still very much in the lead, and you did make it a lot harder last time.
This week we have the work of Gina Gershon.
What? Gina Gershon?
Yes.
Okay, I think I may have seen one or two of her movies.
Okay, so here is quote number 1 from the lady herself, with the sultry eyes and the kiss me lips. "You want some chicken? I stopped by K4IC. Was that Charlotte Smith from Killer Joe? Was it Kathy from LOL? Or was it Irene from Love Ranch?"
I have no idea. I haven't seen any of those movies. Oh, what the hell? I'm going to go for Killer Joe. That sounds like a good film.
You are so jammy. It is unbelievable. 1-0 to you. Killer Joe's actually a really good film, by the way.
Yeah, I seem to remember seeing the box for it in my video shop a couple of years ago.
Matthew McConaughey is one of his better roles.
Yeah, he's a good actor, absolutely.
Okay, quote number 2. He killed my brother. I'm not going to let him kill you too. Was that Cat Manzetti from Red Heat? Was it Sasha Hassler from Face Off? Or was it Patty Mandano from Out for Justice?
Ooh, was that Face Off?
Oh my god. Seriously? 2-0.
Yeah, you know what? I remember her in Face Off. I remember her brother was in Face Off as well, I'm sure. Yay.
So it is now 8-3 to you, but just for the sake of it, because I've got 3 written out, let's have a look at quote number 3. And it is, when you get tired of Cagney and Lacey, find me. Was that Coral from Cocktail? Was it Crystal Connors from Showgirls? Or was it Corky from Bound?
Bound. That is a really good movie, actually. So underrated. Before Wachowski brothers went nuts.
Is that your choice, or are you just talking about Bound?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Bound. Yeah, I think it's Corky from Bound.
3-0, Dave. Well done.
Yes. Gina Gershon, what can I say?
You obviously know more about Gina Gershon than you let on. Either that, or you're just the jammiest git ever.
Oh, well, I couldn't possibly say.
So that makes the score 8-3 as we rapidly approach 10. Basically, the first person gets 10. I think it's fair to say that's going to be you, but I shall keep going because next week, I've already written out next week's, and I think it is the work of John Goodman.
John Goodman, that sounds fun. So
next week we will have the TMHD JST of John Goodman, but for now, we close it out. So now we get to the regular movie news, and before we actually touch upon the movie news, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the retirement of Daniel Bryan, who obviously had to announce his retirement a couple of weeks back now due to his serious concussion situation.
Yeah, you know what is? I did watch his speech, and obviously it was an emotional speech. I think he gave it well. Obviously, there's not many wrestlers who get to stand in the middle of a ring and deliver a speech like that. There seems to be more of them these days. Obviously, Edge. I don't remember Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart ever giving such a speech. But it's just a real shame, I think, that the industry has lost such an incredible talent so early on in his career. Because I think he would have had so many more matches. I mean, can you imagine seeing Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles? What a match that would have been.
Although, of course, I am quite glad that he has retired because we don't really need another Chris Benoit on our hands.
No, absolutely. We don't want any more. We don't want any more serious injuries like that. I think to see some people like Edge and Daniel Bryan actually retire and go on and live a happy, fruitful life after that is, I think it's what you can hope for as fans. People like that should have a good life and shouldn't be living in pain and suffering for the rest of their life. Quick
question for you now, Dave. Obviously, CM Punk quit the world of wrestling and went to the world of mixed martial arts and signed for the UFC. He announced a couple of weeks back that he has a back injury, which is going to put his debut fight off by another 6 weeks. So my question to you is, will CM Punk ever actually fight in the Octagon?
I regularly Google CM Punk to say, CM Punk UFC, has he fought yet? Has he had a match yet? And every time I get it, it's like, nope. He's under contract to UFC. Is he getting paid? Surely they need something for their money.
So, do you think he will ever actually have a fight?
You know what? If he does fight, I'd love to see it, but I'm not holding my breath. And I can imagine if he doesn't fight very soon, they're just going to get rid of him.
And then I would imagine we might see a WWE return?
That would be really funny, but yeah.
And speaking of the WWE, before we close this, did you see the results of Fastlane last night?
Yeah, I saw the results and I saw the last fight of the night as well.
Obviously, they have decided that they don't give a rat's ass what the fans think because they're going with Roman Reigns anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was a good match, but, it took them a huge event and 2.5 hours, whatever it was, to finish the night with no big surprises at all.
So, would you pay to watch WrestleMania main evented by Triple H versus Roman Reigns?
No, I wouldn't. Do you know what? Roman Reigns is an okay wrestler. Triple H is a great showman, but that's not the match I want to see. I think the fans made it perfectly clear they want to see Brock Lesnar beat the hell out of people.
It's going to be quite interesting to watch 100,000 people boo the main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean they certainly woke up last year, didn't they, with Seth Rollins cashing his money in the bank, but they can't do that again.
So we come to this week's movie news. We'll skip through this as quickly as we can, and we're starting with bad news again, as we have lost another acting legend in the form of George Gaines, who died at the age of 98. He amassed 89 acting credits over an almost 50-year career, and he will be best remembered as Commandant Lassard in all 7 Police Academy films.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 7 Police Academy films. I mean, he was perfect for that role, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, and I think he holds the distinction of being the only person to ever appear in all 7. I might be wrong there. No, actually, I don't think that's right, but if it is, then I'm taking credit for that. If it isn't, then I'm blaming somebody else.
Fair enough.
Moving swiftly on, rest in peace, George. The head of design at TT Fusion, Mike Taylor, has been talking about the new LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens game, and how it will bridge the gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, answering such questions as, how did C-3PO get that red arm? The game will feature 6 missions that are described as bridge content. These will be similar to the Deadpool levels in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, if you've played that.
I have played that, but I never got to unlock Deadpool.
Okay, fair enough. There will apparently be lots of exclusive content in the new game, and this will include showing the Trillion Massacre, which is referenced in Force Awakens but has never been shown.
Yeah, I do remember hearing that mentioned.
So yeah, it's just an interesting idea, I suppose, that they're going to try and bridge the gap between Jedi and Force Awakens with a LEGO game, and the LEGO games are normally quite a big hit.
Yeah, the LEGO games are really good. I think they're great for kids and adults alike. But I think putting the story in a LEGO game like this, I think it's going to stop fans from kind of deciding that whatever is in the game has to be canon and it has to be relevant for movies, because I think a lot of fans get I've seen a couple of Star Wars fans get upset that the Force Awakens didn't follow the exact story of some of the Star Wars books from years ago. It's like, well, look, movies are what they are. Just ignore the books. The books were okay, they're a bit of fun. They don't have to stick to exactly to what you read 10 years ago.
Now, I don't know if you've heard of a film called Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry? It rings a bell.
Right. Well, the trailer for this film has arrived, and I have to admit, it looks goddamn amazing. And if you haven't seen it yet, Dave, you need to check it out. The film is a sci-fi action film, which sounds pretty bog standard, but it is shot completely in the first-person perspective, in which we see everything through the eyes of Henry.
That sounds pretty cool, for a movie that sounds like it's some kind of dodgy porn movie. That actually sounds a cool idea.
In the film, Henry is resurrected from the brink of death and has no knowledge of his past. He then has to save his wife Estelle from a powerful warlord named Akan. The film is produced by Timur Bekmambetov, who is best known for Night Watch and Wanted, and I must apologise for my pronunciation.
Well, you know what, Night Watch and Wanted were both pretty good. I think he's maybe lost his mojo a bit, but this sounds like a good idea.
Now, do you like The Expendables?
I think like would be a bit too much of a word. I think they're watchable, and I enjoy watching them, but they're the modern equivalent of the 80s action movie, aren't they?
Next year, Dave, there is going to be a film which is being dubbed The Expendables of Horror.
Oh, really?
It's called Death House, and it's about a government facility that becomes ground zero for the most horrific prison break in the history of mankind. The movie stars Danny Trejo, who of course is from Dusk Till Dawn Machete, countless other Robert Rodriguez films. Got Robert Englund, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. Michael Berryman, who's from The Hills Have Eyes. Bill Moseley from The Devil's Rejects. Kane Hodder, who's Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, parts 7 through 10. Ken Forhey, who's from The Devil's Rejects. Doug Bradley, who is Pinhead in Hellraiser. And it was going to have Gunnar Hansen, who was Leatherface, but unfortunately he passed away. But he did write the film.
Oh, excellent.
So that is probably the only way they could make that film any better is if they had Bruce Campbell in it.
That would just make it me, wouldn't it? Maybe have Bruce Campbell as the prison warden.
So yeah, that's out next year and will probably be my film of the year regardless of how bad it is. Now, do you remember on the last show, a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned Zoolander and you said that you thought the original Zoolander was really funny?
Yeah, I really like it. I'm a big fan.
And that you were quite happy to maybe go and watch Zoolander 2.
Yeah, I didn't though, unfortunately. It's just, money matters have gone in the way instead.
Well, legendary film critic Leonard Maltin has walked out of a screening of Zoolander 2, stating that he was sparing himself further insult. He had the following to say: "The film was stupid right from the start. I told myself I was wasting my time for no good reason. I thought the original Zoolander was pretty funny. I had no reason to expect this one to be so much worse. But it is. So after an hour, I strode out of the theatre. Maltin's reasons for leaving include jokes that don't work and an overabundance of celebrity cameos that bog the story down."
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the first one did have a few celebrity cameos in it. I can imagine if I do agree that if you have too many celebrities popping up into a movie, it kind of can get in the way of the actual story, such as it is. I'm not sure Zoolander would really suffer from no abundance of story. But yeah, this was my big worry for a movie like Zoolander. I love the first one, but would a second one work? And I think we see too many comedy geniuses and comedy greats kind of making sequels in their later career because have they run out of ideas? Ben Stiller is great, but does he really need to be making sequels? I don't know.
And finally, in this week's movie news, crazy old Shia Lebeouf is at it again.
I did read something about this. It sounds like he's just been wasting his own time, if I'm being honest.
This time around, he was live streaming himself from inside an elevator at the EC English Oxford in Gloucester Green from 9 a.m. on the 19th of February to 9 a.m. on the 20th of February. He was apparently at the university to give a talk, and the elevator film is apparently an art project along with Nasha Sade Ronco and Luke Turner. So yeah, Shia LaBeouf, and I will admit I went on YouTube and watched a bit of it, and it's basically they had a camera set up outside the lift, and you would see people go in where Shia was stood, the doors closed, they were mic'd up, you could hear them as they were going up, then you'd wait and the lift would come back down, the doors would open, so more people would get in. At this point, you have to ask yourself, what is that man smoking?
Okay, on a different perspective though, if this is someone else's art house project, good on him supporting little art house independent filmmakers. But I'm not sure it's the right kind of thing for him to be doing. He's not an awful, terrible actor. He's just a bit nuts. And, I'm sure they can find something for him to do in Transformers 5.
Oh, speaking of Transformers 5, did you see the Transformers news that number 5 will be released in 2017, number 6 will hit theatres in 2019, and between these two films we will get a Bumblebee spin-off.
A Bumblebee spin-off?
Yes.
I do like the Transformers films. They're a big guilty pleasure, but I don't know if we need another 3 movies. Seriously.
Well, that's just the start. That's just the beginning of their franchise, basically.
Oh, dear. These things just will keep on going until they stop making money, won't they? So we can't really complain.
And that was this week's movie news. So we have got this week's top 10 now, which we're going to scoot through because we talked so much about Deadpool that we are rapidly running out of time. And this week, Dave, we have the top 10 Video game urban legends.
Ah, yes, there are quite a few of these.
Yes.
There's something curious about this broadcast.
So here we go with number 10, and this is Majora's Mask. Now, a user of the website 4chan once posted a story about a blank N64 cartridge that he had come across which had Majora's Mask written in Sharpie across the front. Now, on the cartridge was a save file titled Ben, which the user ignored, starting a new game instead. Now, weirdly, all the NPCs in the game kept referring to the player as Ben. He therefore deleted the Ben file and started again, but the cartridge then went haywire. Music would play backwards and his character was followed through the game by some weird statue. Upon turning the game on one day, the user discovered two save files had appeared, one titled Ben and the other entitled Drowned. From that point on, his character kept dying and the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" would appear on the screen.
Ooh, so is that kind of so? I don't know. What are they suggesting? Is it maybe the cartridge is haunted?
I think that's the point, yeah. There was a kid that played it once called Ben who drowned.
Well, you know what? They do say, don't they, in all these ghost stories that people spend a lot of time somewhere or a lot of time wearing a certain objects become haunted, so why not video games?
In at number 9 we have Pokemon Peril. Now, in 1996, Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green was released for the Game Boy and was a huge hit around the world, except that is for Japan. Do you know why this is, Dave?
Why is that?
When the Japanese first got their hands on the game, it was linked to a huge rise in suicide and illness in children between the ages of 7 and 12. What makes this particular rumour creepy is the fact that nothing happened until Japanese players reached the Lavender Town. The music that played in the town would allegedly cause nausea and suicidal tendencies. The music was changed before the game was released anywhere else in the world, although there is a clip from the original version of the game that you can find on YouTube.
That is kind of creepy, isn't it? That's weird.
Whether it's true or not, I just don't know. In at number 8, Russian Conspiracy. Now, Kill Switch is allegedly a game that was released by a Soviet gaming company named Karvina Corporation in 1989. There were only limited copies of the game ever produced, and therefore very few people ever played the game, but it supposedly goes a little something like this. You choose between playing as a young girl or an invisible demon. You have to navigate a coal mine. The issue comes in the ending of the game because as soon as you complete, the entire thing will delete from your hard drive. So you basically play the game, and then once you reach the end, the whole thing just deletes.
That's kind of frustrating, isn't it? But you can kind of see why not do that with all games.
A copy of the game was bought for $733,000 from eBay by a Japanese man called Yamamoto Richi, who decided to document the entire playing of the game on YouTube. However, the only video he has ever posted was one of him sobbing as he stares at a blank screen.
Maybe the game just didn't work then.
In at number 7, Satan's Secret. In 1981, Jeff Darley, who at the time was 19 years old, died of a heart attack. Nothing unusual there, except he didn't die of the heart attack until after he'd posted a score of 16,660 for the arcade game Berserk. 1 year later, 18-year-old Peter Burwowski also died of a heart attack mere moments after cracking the Berserk top 10 score twice in 15 minutes. Conspiracy theorists point to the mark of the beast 666 as proof that the devil is at play.
Ooh, okay, that's kind of weird. Yeah.
In at number 6, we all love boobies, and let's be honest, we do, Dave.
We do.
Following the release of the first Tomb Raider game, word spread throughout the gaming community that there was a secret code that you could input which would make Lara Croft naked. Now, why was I never told of this?
You know what? If it's the first Lara Croft game, they mean way back on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, probably.
Like you'd want to see it, but back then anyway, she had triangular boobies.
How old would we have been though, Dave? We would have paid to see any boobies.
Yeah, okay, we were young adults at that stage, I believe.
No code actually ever existed, but players modded the game to bring us Miss Croft in all her naked glory, because that's just how we roll. In at number 5, Mysterious Mario. If ever there was a franchise that you would think would be devoid of anything controversial or creepy, the Mario world would be it, right?
Right.
Okay, well, however, in the Shiver Burn Galaxy level of Super Mario Galaxy 2, there are 3 extremely scary looking hollow-eyed figures staring down at you from on top of a mountain. Players began to dig through the game. How do people get into the game files? I've never understood that.
Well, I think it's just for techie people. If you're so inclined, you can do it quite easily. But it's just whether you actually want to mess around your game.
Well, players began to dig through the game files and came across the fact that the sky art for the area was called Beyond Hell Valley, and that the characters were known as Hell Valley Trees. Weirdly, there is no level in the game called Hell Valley.
Well, you know what? This might just be a simple case of the games developers having a bit of fun. They want to label something as something else, or maybe they were thinking of putting it in the game but didn't get round to it. You know, there's lots of different explanations. In
at number 4, we have Caffeine Fix, and you probably are aware of this, David. You may even have seen it yourself, because this relates to 2004's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yes, I did play that one rather a lot.
Yeah. It courted plenty of controversy upon its release, but nothing could prepare people for the game's hot coffee minigame that was discovered hidden away in the game files. Have you ever played Hot Coffee?
No, I don't think I actually played that part of the game.
Okay. Initially, Hot Coffee was discovered by PC users as a mod uncovered a hidden minigame in which the main character, Carl Johnson, is invited in for coffee by his girlfriend. The two of them would go on to have sexual intercourse on screen in the game. Before long, it was discovered that the game was also disabled and hidden within the console versions of Grand Theft Auto. This led to Rockstar having to raise the game's rating to that of an adult game. They would later re-release the game with Hot Coffee removed. Now, this is obviously something that they were going to have in the game and change their minds before they released it, right? Which is why it's hidden away in the files, correct?
Right.
Why would... I don't understand what relevance this would have to the game.
Well, if I can elaborate on that, there's part of the game is towards the last missions where you have to befriend this woman who works in a casino, and she needs to get you a certain key. And to befriend her, basically you have to perform a few different acts. One of which is getting, as far as I remember, it's getting a rather large 12-inch object that happens to be hanging around in the showers of a police station on the other end of the city. So basically, you have to steal that from inside the police station and give it to her. She's very grateful, and in the normal version of the game, which I played, I didn't try to get into any more graphic version. It pans out and you hear some noises from outside the building, and you can carry on with the rest. You know, it's obvious what's going on. You can hear the rest of it. You just get on with the rest of the game. But yeah, that's why that part of the game happens.
Okay.
In this game as well, there's lots of different stuff. You could, the main character could take his girlfriend out on several dates, which was kind of almost inane and boring, but it was just part of the game.
Moving on to number 3 of the top 10 video game urban legends, we have Weapons of PlayStation Destruction. It's the year 2000, and the rumour goes that Iraqi despot Saddam Hussein was busy stockpiling more than 4,000 PlayStation 2s. The reason for this was apparently he believed that by making the console CPUs work together, they could form a missile guidance system.
You know what, I've heard this rumour lots of different times. Once upon a time it was the Dreamcast, then it was the PlayStation, then it was PlayStation 2, and it's always supposed to be, I think it's going to say, oh yeah, the PlayStation 2 is so powerful that someone wants to use it as a weapons guidance system. It's always absolute rubbish. A weapons guidance system is fundamentally based upon GPS technology anyway, and civilian GPS technology relies upon satellites in space. So it's only as perfect as the satellites in space. So the PlayStations have got nothing to do with it.
In at number 2, we have Madden Malaise. Now, I think that you were a fan of the Madden games?
Yes, I was. Well, back when I was a kid, I was. Anyway, back in the Sega Mega Drive and Master System, I believe.
Now, in the early 20th century, EA Sports began featuring NFL stars on the covers of their John Madden American football games. The first game of this nature was the 1999 edition, which featured Garrison Hearst on the cover. Shortly after the release of the game, Hearst broke his ankle. Following this, there were 16 cover stars over the next 17 seasons that had either troubled seasons or abruptly shortened seasons following injuries. The curse has become so well known that the gambling world now offers odds on whether the most recent cover star will suffer an injury of some kind.
Oh, if they're offering odds on it, that's got to be quite a weird coincidence, then.
Can you, 16 stars out of 17 covers? That's pretty mad.
That is kind of mad. I mean, obviously, in the world of sport, people get injured all the time, but yeah, that is uncanny, isn't it?
And finally, our top video game urban legend, number 1, Work of the Devil. Yeah, we're back with the devil. When you begin a game of World of Warcraft as a human character, the first town you will enter is called Goldshire. In a small house that is usually empty, players can find 6 little children who appear at 7 AM on the game's server clock. The children will then stand in the shape of a pentagram as they move from Goldshire to Stormwind. It's also reported that players have heard high-pitched wails that scream, "You will die," to music that doesn't show up anywhere else in the game.
That is kind of weird, isn't it?
It is weird. The thing is, somebody has programmed that into the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously programmers have kind of got as much sense of humour as anyone else, but yeah, that is weird. You'd be properly freaked out by that.
And that was this week's Top 10.
That is all.
So we are, as I always say, coming towards the end of another episode of World of Stew. And it wouldn't be a World of Stew show without one of these. This week of Geek. This Geeky Week. This week of Geek. This week of Geek. So Dave, what was in your week of Geek for the past week and a bit, sort of?
Well, you know what, there wasn't huge amounts of stuff this week. Movie-wise, I've been trying to watch some of the Oscar movies. So, a couple of weeks ago I watched Mad Max Fury Road. I thought that was a really kick-ass movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know you didn't enjoy it too much, did you, Stu?
No, it wasn't for me, mate. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought it was a kick-ass movie. But this week I watched Spotlight, having heard about that, the BAFTAs as well. Having seen it was nominated for a few BAFTAs, I thought I'd watch it. But yeah, a thoroughly engrossing film. Some absolutely fantastic acting from the likes of Mark Ruffalo and Stanley Tucci. The subject matter obviously can be a bit tricky to watch if you're a bit sensitive. It being about how can I put this delicately? It's about the paedophile priest rings in a certain city in America. So it can be difficult to watch, but it's based on a true story. Fantastic film, worth watching. I don't know if I'd go. I don't know how willing I'd be to say, look, go spend all your money, go and watch it in the cinema. Maybe wait until watch it on Blu-ray or DVD, whatever, or stream it, whatever you want to. Obviously stream it legally. I'm not suggesting any impropriety, but but comic-wise, it's actually been a pretty good couple of weeks, actually. Batman number 49 finally is out. You probably haven't read it yet, have you, Steve?
No, but don't worry about spoilers.
Let's be honest, it's Batman 49. Mr. Bloom, the big bad guy in Gotham at the moment, has got Commissioner Gordon. We all know what's been coming. We all know what's been coming for months now. We all know who is going to be back as Batman. You know what? This was a really well-written issue. The only thing I have a problem with is it's not Greg Capullo's art. And I know fill-in issues have to happen sometimes. Even the best comic book artists, they take more than a month to draw the average issue. I just wish it had been drawn by Greg Capullo. It would have been so beautiful. But you know what? This kind of stuff happens. Old Man Logan. There hasn't been a good Wolverine comic I've wanted to read for ages, but Old Man Logan, issue number 1 and issue number 2, both absolutely fantastic. Issue number 2 is great. We finally get to see a proper Wolverine versus Hulk fight we haven't seen for so long. But again, Secret Wars just finished barely a month ago, and already we've got the next big Marvel event. So it's Avengers Assault on Mount Pleasant. Basic story: it appears that S.H.I.E.L.D. has made some kind of prison for bad guys and supervillains to somehow reform them and somehow turn bad guys into good guys. And I don't think Captain America is going to like this, to be honest, but we'll see how this kind of event pans out. It's going to have the Avengers in it, the Uncanny Avengers, the New Avengers. We'll just have to see how these Avengers teams start fighting. Apparently it's going to have a big effect on the comics moving forward.
I was going to say, I guess that this is what's going to lead to Civil War 2, is it?
Yeah, I think Civil War 2 is going to follow on pretty quick, and certainly by the end of this, we know we're going to have Steve Rogers back as Captain America. I'm not sure if Sam Wilson is also staying as Captain America. We'll have to wait and see. But Sam Wilson as Captain America is in all the promotional images for Civil War 2, so I imagine he actually will still be there somehow.
Going back to the Batman issue 49, now the last issue I read, which I'm guessing is probably 48, is where Bruce Wayne is sat on a bench talking to somebody who we happen to know.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Is that resolved in issue 49?
That is not, no. His conversation with that guy isn't really referred to again. It's just that Bruce has clearly decided, you know what, to protect everything, he's clearly decided, you know what, I need to be Batman again. So he's gone off, he's demanded to be Batman again, and conveniently there's a rather easy method to turn him back into Batman again. So
without all the years of training.
Yeah, without all the years of training. It explains it quite well within the issue, but again, we know, as you said earlier on, we're going to have DC Rebirth, so even all this may be totally irrelevant in 2 months.
Because they might just pretend it never happened.
Exactly. We'll either say, this never happened, or, oh, look, this is a different universe, or, I don't know, who knows what's going to happen. We're obviously going to get... It's just a shame to me that this run of Batman seems to have been one of the best runs of comics ever. And if they just turn around and say, oh, this never happened, that would be a real great shame, because I'm not a DC fan, but for me, these Batman comics are absolutely superb.
So what else have you been up to in your week of Geek?
I think that was actually about it this week. Too much being busy with the kids, if I'm being honest.
Have we got an X-Files update?
Do you know what? I just about gave up with the X-Files. I've been trying to find time to watch the X-Files. I think I've got another 2 episodes I need to watch. But it's just a matter of sitting down and getting time to actually watch it. Oh, but I did finish watching Jessica Jones.
Okay.
Finally. finally finished watching Jessica Jones, and actually really enjoyed it. I know lots of people haven't quite enjoyed it as much as I did, but I thought overall I'd give the series about a 7.5 to 8. I think Jessica Jones herself was a bit hard to like. There's not many interesting characters in there, but David Tennant as the bad guy Kilgrave I thought was fantastic as well. He was creepy, he gave a bit of humanity when he needed to, and I think they drew the series to a pretty good conclusion, and now I'm just absolutely desperate to see Daredevil versus Punisher. They had another new trailer this week. Punisher looks like we might get a pretty good TV version of Punisher, so I cannot wait until, I believe it's mid-March, Daredevil 2 Season 2 is coming out.
Now, you're a Netflix guy, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, have you heard of or seen, and I'm mentioning this because I'm in the middle of watching it, I think I'm halfway through the series now, Making a Murderer?
Yes, I have. I watched the whole series, and it was absolutely gripping.
Now, we'll discuss it in greater detail at a later date once I've watched it all. But like I said, I've watched the first 5 episodes. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what Making a Murderer is, there's basically a guy called Stephen Avery who is locked up for 18 years for a sexual assault, which is proven he didn't do. He comes out of prison in 2003, sometime like that. 2003. He then promptly is accused of murdering somebody. Now, at the point that I'm at now, and like I said, we won't discuss the whole thing and the rights and the wrongs of it, but I just wanted your take on, I've watched now up to where they basically interrogated his nephew Brendan, right?
Yes.
How in God's name did anybody, because I know that they both eventually end up going down for it and they've been in prison now for 10 years, how did anyone ever watch the video of Brendan's interrogation and not realise that he was basically just telling the police what they wanted to hear because they were basically feeding him all the information?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm amazed that even a judge could. Surely, if I was a judge and watched that confession, I'd just say, you know what? No, you're not having that. That's not evidence. What else have you got?
It just seemed like.
Oh, you haven't got it.
Yeah, it just seemed like everyone, from all the way up to the judge, were just doing their utmost to prove his guilt, rather than. Yeah, he was presumed guilty right from both of them, Stephen Avery and Brendan, were both basically presumed guilty right from the get-go.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, that confession is just scary. But you know, you can say what you like about. With the best will, this kid, he's not the smartest guy. He's clearly quite vulnerable in a way. I think as vulnerable as any teenage kid. How old was he? 16?
16 at the time, yeah.
Yeah, any teenage kid, 16, on his own, not with a lawyer, not with a parent with him. Any 16-year-old with 2 very experienced cops or police interrogating him. You're vulnerable in that situation. I don't care what they say. You know, if you're that age, and especially that guy, they say he's of quite low intelligence, very low intelligence, being interviewed and interrogated by 2 police who are doing their best to say, yeah, you did this, didn't you? You did this. You did this. You did this. You did that. Oh, sorry, you're not going to tell me what I want to hear. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you then. You know, this guy was vulnerable, and it's scary. You know, this is kind of TV series that makes me, with the best will, I know America is as varied as countries, the UK, and in the UK we've had plenty of miscarriages of justice here. It just makes you not want to go to America. The fact that this kind of thing can happen is just scary.
And also, when his supposed defence lawyer got an investigator to sit down with him and get him to write out what happened, and he wrote that he went home and played PlayStation and then basically went to bed, and they made him rewrite the whole thing, admitting that he'd killed and raped the woman.
Yeah, exactly. It's again, it's just scary. And there's someone. There's more to come of that later on. I think in episode 9 or 10, actually. So you get to see more. You get to see more exactly what happened there. But yeah, it amazes me how some of these guys sleep at night. You know, the fact that, you know, aren't they the least bit worried that there's actually someone else out there who's committing this crime? It's just worrying.
Of course, we should point out as well that we're not saying whether they did or didn't. Well, I am actually going to go on record and say that Brendan clearly was not involved. Whether Stephen, his uncle, did it or not, I don't know. But it's clear to me that Brendan was not involved in any way, shape or form. But you do have to watch the series with a slight pinch of salt, because anyone who's making this type of work, Michael Moore for instance, is always going to skew it to their personal bias.
Very true, but I would say, regardless of whether you believe someone did it or did not, the way that this confession, that this tape was produced, is just totally wrong. If you ask me, the idea that a 16-year-old can be interviewed without a lawyer or adult representative is just completely wrong, if you ask me.
But there you go, World of Stew. We can do serious topics when we want to. That was a bit heavy for us, Dave.
Well, once you've finished the episode, let me know, and we'll have a better discussion on it, because I have since listened to a couple of other shows where someone has a really interesting theory about what might have happened.
And we may even reveal who the real killer is.
You never know.
Let's just hope that nobody involved with the case ever listens to this show.
Well, you know what, there are, but you know, a lot. It is quite amazing how many people have actually watched that show on Netflix and are kind of. I've heard of people in America who lived in the area and just thought, you know what, it was just open and shut case. But then they've watched the Netflix documentary and they realise, actually no, there was a lot more evidence. So, you know, who knows? But like you said, documentary filmmakers, sometimes they've got an agenda as well.
So that was this week's Week of Geek, which means we are coming to the end of another episode of World of Stew. We've got time, so let's just run through all the housekeeping. If you want to read any of our thoughts, and my most recent post on the World of Stew Facebook page does relate to Making a Murderer, which we've just been discussing, you can find us on Facebook, which is just simply go on the website, facebook.com, type in World of Stew, and there you will find us in all our glory. If you want to catch any of our latest episodes or any of the previous episodes of this show, like I said, this is episode 42, you can check us out on our website, which is silentmovieman.wix.com/World of Stew. Please go and take a look there, and you can also check out on there the books that I've written today, because yes, when I have some spare time I do that, although I will admit I haven't done that in quite some time. As well as that, we are part of the Pancast Productions Network, which you can find on pancast.co.uk. It's the great guys Neil and Pavo. They do podcasts about all sorts of stuff, and they produce this network which they're putting together with lots of different shows for all of your entertainment needs. We are part of that. And finally, we are part of the Sobel Nation, which you can find this show at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in America, but obviously you can watch it anytime here in the UK. That's 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time Saturday nights on Movie Utopia, which you find by going to broadwayutopia.fm. Click on Movie Utopia. You cannot miss it. Oh, and you can contact us if you wish on our email, which is worldofstew316@gmail.com. Did I miss anything out, Dave?
I don't think you missed out anything there, no.
No.
Very thorough housekeeping.
Yeah, there's no pin badges, no bracelets, no T-shirts, no merchandise. It's literally just us. So it leaves me just enough time to thank anyone out there who's listening, as well as thanking you, Dave, for being here on your 30th show.
Always fun, always welcome. It just feels nice to think I'm only 30.
You wish.
No, I
And
wish.
we are going to finish this week's show. As always, we finish the show with a song that relates to something we've been discussing. Bearing in mind the behemoth that it has become, I think it's only appropriate we finish with something Deadpool related, right?
Definitely. There's, again, we didn't mention it, great soundtrack.
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago we played Shoop by Salt and Pepper to close the show. So I was going through and I was thinking, what could we play? I didn't really want to play Wham because just no. Even if it's in Deadpool, we cannot play Wham.
No, nice to see some 80s music being used in a movie mode.
Yeah, but would you ever play Wham?
Oh, hell no.
We would never have played it on the Falcon, so I was sure as hell ain't playing it now. We are going to finish with the Deadpool rap.
Oh, yeah, good choice.
I forgot to write down who it was by, but you can just go onto YouTube and type in Deadpool rap and check it out there if you want the video. If you want to just hear the song, well, here it comes. So until next week, keep it geek.
Deadpool. They call me Deadpool, I'm hella fast. Came to murk the bad guys and get some ass. Got blades for days, got guns galore. Got combo moves, evades and more. With bear traps and hand grenades. Pull the pistol like a maniac right in your face. Popping off caps, leave a trail of guts. Sitting on my chair, scratching my nuts. Don't stop when I shoot, full auto was on. Your ass is grass and I'm on the lawn. Hot lead to the head and I won't stop. What your crew gonna do when I hack and chop? All these bitches are prima donnas. I stuff my face with chimichangas. Tacos and beers, always keeping it loose. Hang on for a minute while I'm dropping a deuce. Deadpool. Sexy motherfucker. Deadpool. Nah, just Deadpool. Merc with the mouth. I can't die, 1 foot in the grave, but I'm still alive. Try to kill me, I'll just revive. Then I'll put another bullet right between your eyes. I'm dangerous, feeling reckless. Squeeze your neck like I was a necklace. Jump, flip, and leave them headless. I like my guns all big like Texas. Hey goons, thugs, and bosses, guess what? I brought Colossus. Time's up, better count your losses. Kicking that ass as my girlfriend watches. Run away, you know that I'll chase every bad guy, put them right in their place. Revenge, I'm gonna give you a taste. I'm sexy as hell, but I cover my face. About to take you all to school with guns and knives. Deadpool. Telling jokes and breaking the rules. I came for the tacos. Deadpool. Playing with the ladies and the family jewels to bust a nut. Deadpool. About to throw down with all these fools, so come and get some. Bring the noise, I'll bring the pain. Ha! Kicking ass and taking names. Payback time, I'm not playing games. These superpowers are feeling strange. I move like a friggin' ninja. Hand to hand, you know I'll end ya. Got 2 swords, now I'll avenge ya. I don't care if I offend ya. Listen up, I got something to say. That's right, I run my mouth all day. Step up, take a bloodbath. Now you're trying to run and it's making me laugh. Ha ha ha, where you gonna go to? Try to hide, but you know that I'll find you. Tippy toes, sneaking up behind you. I'm Deadpool, do I have to remind you? Regenerate, because it's cool when I fall off a ledge. Deadpool. The crazy ass guards are looking to duel, so click, click, boom. Deadpool. I don't believe in the golden rule, I came to get laid. Deadpool. Note to the ladies, I'm not a tool, I'm a sexy motherfucker.